Oh, you know why I'm playing this game. This has been a long time coming, but this week especially is going to be for a very rare occasion. Well, yes, pun intended. Banjo Tooie. I've been talking about this GWC plays for a while. Since Banjo Kazooie, I've been waiting. You thought it was going to be a long wait, but no, it is here. And I was actually going to do this a few weeks ago. I am happy, very ecstatic that I waited, because it is a very special time for Banjo Kazooie fans. And yeah, we're going to go all in on Banjo Tooie today. I'm going to try and play as much as I can within the time span. We got a lot to talk about, so let's go. First, before we even begin, we have to say the big elephant in the room. Banjo and Kazooie are in Smash Brothers. I'm still very shocked. It's been a few days after that announcement. I still really cannot believe it. It's such just a crazy reveal. And come from somebody who's been playing these games for a very long time. It's just... It's very great to see. And I'm very ecstatic that Banjo and Kazooie have made it in Smash. That in the year 2019, I can say, hey, I'm playing a game with Banjo and Kazooie in it. Well, it may not be in an actual original game or a new one. Just seeing the characters back is just great enough. And I'm happy everything I said in that previous Banjo and Kazooie GWC plays has actually happened, at least. And as you've already seen my reaction, you knew that I got emotional and I was just blown away. But nope, that's there. It's time for the now. It's time to play Banjo Tooie, which I said last time. This is my favorite one. I love Banjo Kazooie. It's a classic game. But to me, and I'm under the rare opinion, I think Banjo Tooie is my personal favorite. Just in terms of everything, just they added to it, and just how much more this game had as a whole. It was really crazy. So yeah, we're gonna play Banjo Tooie. We're gonna see how far it can go. This file right here is my cheat file. It's got like a bunch of cheats on, and I played a bunch growing up. As you can see, 48 hours. I messed around that file a lot, but we're starting fresh. We're going in brand new on this, so let's go. And for the purpose of time, I'm going to skip the opening cutscene, which good cutscene. I do love the intro to it, but I want to get down to some stuff and really just talk about just such a big tone change. Like from number one, Spiral Mountain has this really bright and just great theme to it, and you come into the sequel, everything's just down and distraught. And I just love these little things that Grant Kirkhope did with the soundtrack. Just the simple change of doing Spiral Mountain's theme in minor instead of major, and just playing it at a slower tempo just adds to that uneasy feeling to it. Just bring it now to more of a sad tone. You mentioned like the thing I love when the game begins, when the game starts and you just hear that banjo tuning up, just starting like, okay, it's been a while, we got to get right back into things. It's gonna be a little slow start, but it's getting there. It's just so many small things with it. But yeah, this game does a lot of brilliant things. Now, unlike the other GWC plays, where that one I played on an emulator for quality purposes, just to get better quality, this one I'm going to be playing, you probably noticed, it is on the original hardware. Because Banjo Tooie is a game that still has a lot of issues running it on emulators, specifically Project 64, which I use. So, for the purpose here, I'm going to be playing it on original hardware, which, you know what, I will always, if I have the chance, I will play on original hardware. It's just, I do enjoy playing that way for some games. So you're wondering why maybe the frame rate's a little choppy, and maybe it's not as crisp as it usually is because I'm playing it on this. Now, if I had an Xbox One, oh, I'd gladly play that version, because that's the one on the Rare Replay runs really smooth and it looks really sharp. But it's like I don't have an Xbox One yet, and I was almost thinking, hey, maybe I should wait till I get an Xbox One to play it. I was like, no, this week I need to play it this week. There's no ifs, ands, ors, buts, and nuts, and bolts. So yeah, we're getting right into it. I know there's nothing I can do here, but I did mention that for this one I want to go really in depth. And I just love like a little just detail. Just you can come back to this area in Banjo Tooie. Just you can't do anything here, but just that you can come back to Gruntilda's lair. There's just something really cool about that. Now we gotta get all the cheat pages. I remember as a kid, I would try my hardest, like thinking, oh, maybe if I 100% the game or do something, I can get up past these rocks and get over to Mumbo's Mountain. But there's a lot of stuff. I remember, man, back in 2006 and 7, the biggest part of my early YouTube was looking up Banjo Tooie and Kazooie videos. So like, Thumbs Up Master, if you remember that name, Loraco Lanche, who were just posting all these Banjo Kazooie and Tooie stuff, and there are people posting like these mysteries about Banjo Tooie and all sorts of things. I was really obsessed with Banjo Kazooie. I really loved this game, and I remember especially because I would go on the Rare Witch Projects, which if you know that site, it was a forum for all things just rare. And there's a lot of stuff on Banjo Kazooie and Tooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day and different things. There's also a Conker one I used to go to a bit. I can't remember it. Unfortunately, shut down because he was like, well, Conker's kind of dead. There's something happening with this one, which that one was unfortunate. But yeah, I was pretty heavy around 2006 on watching some Banjo stuff. And just on the internet as well. But also, I remember around this time, I was like, I'd kind of been, I wouldn't say I was away from it, but like I'd beat it a bunch. I was like, you know, this is cool, and I got away from it. Then around 2006 or 7, I was like, you know what? Let me just pop a copy in for this. And then it kind of got all back in there again. Ooh, okay, I got the blue one. I prefer the red one. That's the easiest one. Red one is just he gets bigger. The invisible one is easy too. The blue one, I should. Dang it. First, I need to cut this phone down. I can't. I got him once. I should probably turn my audio up on my end. I'm pretty much playing muted. Alright, let me actually. He always likes, I got a Congo fight that has like 3 different versions, and it's always random, so sometimes you can start off with the big one. Alright, there he goes. He's that middle one. Nope, he wasn't. He's up all the way on the right. Oh, we're gonna see him soon too. See, the thing that sucks is that this is one of those GWC plays that I really like. There's so much to talk about. I can't cover everything, like, which is why I think halfway through this I'm going to switch over to another games file, because I want to at least show off some of my favorite levels that I probably won't get to in the time span. I also remember having a lot of memories on this game. Those McDonald's PlayStations back in the day, when McDonald's had like the N64 set up there. I remember that they always had this game set up, and I would always like Every time I'd go there, this game was always on there, but it was always just deleted, so I'd always start over. So I was really familiar with doing that opening Quango fight a lot, just because I'd do it every time I'd go there. It's like, do you want to go play on that big playground thing? I'm like, no, they got Banjo Tooie there. Yeah, I can't do anything over there just yet. Yeah, this game is such just a step ahead of just Banjo Kazooie. Like there's just so much just added to it, and it's like a collectathon on crack. Like Banjo Kazooie really focused on just straight up like just platforming and everything. The levels were very just concise and to the point. They weren't really too large. This game was like a whole other step. They were like, let's see how far we could really push this thing. And that's exactly what they did. Like, these levels are pretty massive, and just how big they are and that they're all connected. Like, it really kind of blew me away back then. It's just like, wait, this connects here? And you kind of see stuff from later levels early on. Or you're in a later level and you see, oh wait, that's what that was. Like, it was like, this game was probably my first foray into like backtracking as like something really pivotal to like how they designed it. Which Zelda's like that too, but it was very rare for me to see like a platformer do that. Of course, Mario 64, it's like you can at least beat most of the levels right then and there. But this is like, okay, well, you can't beat this level fully 100%. You have to come back. Oh, I'm gonna try and get down into the Dodgem tournament. I'm gonna try and see if I can get there for my I'm gonna try and see if I can speed the stuff up as much, but I don't want to skip a lot. I guess while this cutscene is playing, I can mention something that I while editing the last GWC plays, and it was also because I got interrupted while recording that one. So if you're wondering why that one was a lot shorter than usual, it's because stuff happened recording-wise. But I forgot to mention the big thing with that game, and kind of leading into this game, was stop and swap. So upon 100%ing Banjo Kazooie, you get this cutscene at the end of the game with Mumbo telling you, hey, look at these little areas. There's these colored eggs, and there's this giant ice key, which you would see if you go to Freezy Peak. And there's really no way to obtain them unless you use the Sandcastle cheat codes inside the game. And the eggs had no purpose really at that point. And the idea of what it was going to be was a thing called stop and swap, where you would take items from Banjo Kazooie and bring them into Tooie when this game came out. And that's originally what Rare is planning to do. So it's like, if you beat Banjo Kazooie or you played it, you would turn on Banjo Kazooie, turn the game off, then put in your Banjo Tooie cart, and then it would transfer like data over to this one, which is what the original goal is going to be. So either like a new costume or an egg or whatever they were going to originally do. But due to a change in Nintendo's hardware, because originally it was going to be you'd have at least 12 seconds and the console will still have some kind of roaming data on the N64. But due to some change internally that Nintendo made with the systems, it went down from 10 seconds to like 30 to like 50 milliseconds, which is impossible. So it was scrapped entirely. And there was such a big thing, like going back to like that Rare Witch Project forums and on YouTube, people were like, is stop and swap still in the game? Like, is it there? What was it for? And all this. And it was just really vague over the years of like what this thing was and what it was going to be. And every interview for a long time with like ex-Rare members was just that, like, let's stop and swap. I know Grant Kirkhope was the first one really I remember who came out was like, okay, that's what it was going to be. And then they kind of came out and said, okay, well, this is what it was. And thankfully, they did finally explain it, and it did actually finally happen when the Xbox Live Arcade versions came out, because now, of course, it's easier to transfer data. So in those versions, you actually could get stuff for transferring data over from Banjo Kazooie. Took a long time, but it finally did happen. Yeah, I'm going to skip that cutscene just for the purpose of saving time. This is like really ambitious for the time, just something like that. And like, I'm curious how that would have went back then. And there still are some stop and solve items in this game. You can get some of the eggs, you can get the key, so that stuff's still there. It's just no use for it really, because that stuff got taken out of the game. Man, sorry I stopped for it. I was just still thinking like Banjo Kazooie are in Smash Brothers. Like they're back. Like it's I'm still like really excited about that. Like it's just, man. And I'm only coming here, one, because that little DK reference, but also because of this right here, which a lot of people didn't get. I'd watch some playthroughs, people would just skip this. It's like, what? You gotta get these. You really don't want this game to be easy. Like this. And also, of course, the Jet Force Gemini posters right there, which is a game I would not play for a very long time. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was a rare game, but I didn't know what it was at that point. And I didn't finally get Jet Force Gemini till last year. I had played it a few years ago, like not the whole game, but I finally got a copy last year, which is a whole story in terms of how I got that copy, but that's really not the time a day to go into that long thing. I'm just playing this again, like it really would be cool to, like I'm really happy Banjo Kazooie are at least back in something. I really would be like, man, you know, it would be cool to see maybe a new game, but it's tough to say, because the original team that made these games so good with just the music, the writing, the gameplay, like those people all left on other things, like with Playtonic Games, or they're working in other departments of Rare, or just different studios altogether. So I don't know if it'd be the same. Like maybe with a new team under it, it could be something interesting, but I'm not really sure on that one, because I always been thinking about that whole thing of like, if they did another Banjo Kazooie, how would it be? Because the people that made this game right here aren't there anymore. So can they still do it? And I know there's been a lot of other games where project heads have like come on and done like their take on the game, or like they've worked on later iterations of the series and it's worked out perfectly. Like a good example of this is like AGI Onuma with Legend of Zelda. Like his first one he worked on was Majora's Mask, and since then he's been at the helm for most of them, and like taking it away from like Miyamoto, like with Miyamoto at the helm for like Link to the Past, like one of the greatest games, and all this other stuff. So it's just it is possible, but I don't know, it's really tough. I feel like this game is like a product of the time. Like it'd be hard to like catch it back like now. But man, I would really just like love a straight up just collectathon Banjo game again. I feel like Nuts and Bolts, well, a fine game if you take Banjo out of the equation. I just wanted some straight up just platforming. That's stupid, the McJiggies. But I don't know, that's always been my thing on it. Got this. Yeah, I gotta start talking about it now. I've been holding my tongue on it, but I have to hit that point of the GWC plays where I have to talk about Grant Kirkhope's music. Like, he knocked it out of the park in this game. So some of my favorite songs, like of top 10 songs, are in this game. Like one of my all-time favorite, probably like theme from a water level, is in this game. And of course, I'm going to be playing that one. And a big reason why I in particular picked this the N64 version to play is that on emulator, these things are extremely broken. For some reason, the emulator cannot handle this puzzle piece section because it runs at like 1 FPS and is awful to play. So that's one reason why I didn't play it on there. Apart with the other different things that come up while playing it on emulator. But, you know, on original hardware, it runs fine. It's just crazy that still in 2019, N64 emulation still has issues. Like, you'd think at this point in time we would have figured it out, but I guess not. God, when I hear this music, it reminds me of this one stop and swap video this guy made for April 1st. That was this really just convoluted garbage. It was like you hit an egg here, and you walk over here and talk, and you get this text, and this happens, and this. And me being the gullible kid that I was for like a day, I was like, oh shit, is that real? Is that how it happens? And like, at the day I was like, oh, it's April 1st, and it's like, oh well. I should have known. And I actually went back and watched that video too, and I'm like, how did I fall for that? Like, it's not even close. Like, it's so dumb that I still feel stupid about that one. Just like, man, how did I fall for that for like a day? Like I said, I wanted to know stop and swap. I wanted to believe it. Oh, and here we go. Perfect opening theme. Love for this game. Mime Temple. If you think you're hard enough. Lyrics, of course, sung by Grant Kirkhope. And this song actually was going to be in Banjo Kazooie. There's a album which I believe you can't find anywhere. It probably is still on YouTube, but I remember a long time ago, Grant Kirkhope on his Bandcamp, he put up just a free album of every single song in Banjo Kazooie, like every song. So it'd be like, here's Treasure Trove Cove when you're inside the ship, or here's Mad Monster Mansion when you're inside this area. So it was like every single thing. So for this game it'd be like Mime Temple when you're underwater. So it was, and it had a lot of beta stuff too in there. So it had early versions of Atlantis from Banjo Tooie. It had a version of this. It had some stuff that was going to be in Donkey Kong 64, some levels that were scrapped. It was really cool. And one thing I forgot to mention that I also loved about this game that very few games ever do, and I love when games do this, is that every move you learned from Banjo Kazooie 1, you know from the start. There's none of this, oh, Banjo forgot the moves, you have to relearn them. It's just, alright, if you played Banjo Kazooie 1, every move you learned, you have from the beginning. So now we're adding on even more moves to like the game. And I always appreciated that, just that they kept it exactly how it was and just embellished it and added more to it. Like, and I was always like, man, why don't more games do that? Like, I always just appreciated that. Yeah, I'll say that. Music's not playing. Is it gonna do it? Okay, I got it. So there's a rare thing that can happen where jam jars will hit like the silo and it'll take a long time to get in there. And it's RNG dependent on like when it'll actually happen. Now for me playing, there's no issue, but like in speed runs, that thing sucks because it's like you're trying to like beat the game as fast as possible, and then jam jars can just kill it. And also another reason why I wanted to go in 64 is look at how easy the aiming is. If I was on my other controller I use usually, that thing wouldn't have been as easy. It would have been like 10 times harder. Like, this is when you know, like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, these levels are gonna be huge. Just that there's warp zones in the levels. And I thought, oh, this level's not too big. I don't know why they would need it. Like this level almost has like a fake facade, because almost like looking at it from like here, it doesn't look like, oh, this level doesn't seem that big. Like it reminds me of Mumbo's Mountain almost in a way. But then you see how much more to this level there is, and you're just like, oh, I was completely wrong. Because then you have like the subzones. I gotta do this. My Gears of War reload. Thankfully this one's easy, but some of those ones near the end suck. But you have like the subzone levels, like where Wumba's at, and like the whole like section there. You have the entirety of the Mayam Temple section, the first person where you have to fight the boss. Then you have all the stuff with Mumbo. Then you have the tournament. So it is so much to it. Like this game, and this is the first level. That's the thing that's crazy about everything I described. There's a lot to do, and it's only the first level. Like this is the smallest one. Like once you hit like the second levels, when it starts getting crazy, you start getting lost. And don't even mention Witchy World or God, Jolly Roger's Lagoon with the entire Atlantis section underwater. Like, oh man, like this game is really ambitious. And it's like I didn't get the lucky one. Sometimes I get lucky and I get the white Jinju, and I get the easy Jiggy right there. I like the different approach to the Jinjos this time. Instead of kind of having a set, okay, this level's gonna have all of the colored Jinjos and you gotta find them. It's now, okay, all the Jinjos are spread out through the entire game, so now you gotta go get them. And it's random each time, so you may get this one, you may not. See? Aiming's pretty good right here. I'd be scared if I was aiming on that controller. The voice, like little voices that every time someone talks, like ooh 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 ooh, like it. These games are perfect. All right, there's two Jiggies right there. You know, I should turn into Mumbo right now. I think the game plan will be. Okay, actually, I'm doing pretty good on time. This one may go a little over the general hour baseline that I try to set on this, but it's because I really want to try and talk about as much of this game as I can. So I want to give myself enough, especially that I want to show off more levels. And I know in an hour I can't get to Jolly Rogers, so that's why we're going to have to do some stuff. And just how much they expanded too. Like in the original, it's like, okay, well you have your transformations and that. But now it's like, okay, well now you can actually just play as Mumbo just straight out. Which I thought was cool. I was like, oh, cool, you finally play as Mumbo. And I preferred this Mumbo design to the one in the original. This is the peak Mumbo. Mumbo get to be hero at last. Mumbo's huge compared to Banjo. I think that thing too, for see, they gave him like the skull all around his head, and it's not like he was wearing the mask, and he just had that like kind of pinkish thing. Like they got rid of that because that would have looked. They wouldn't have looked that good seeing it that way. Alright, so let's go. Yeah, even though Mumbo doesn't have too much he can do in like stages now, like you're not gonna obviously be doing the whole stages of Mumbo. Just use like the magic for certain things. I still remember a lot of times playing it back then as a kid. I would be just going around levels of Mumbo, just tearing dudes up. Here we go. first so you can boke 'em. So you got like stuff like this, like already like compared to Banjo 1, they just already going into some crazy like new directions. It's like, all right, now you can just play as like different things, and which is a lot more just depth to what you're given this time around. I forgot how to actually kick him. Well, I'm not wasting my kick on him. It's what I have to do in this time span. God, what do I rank? I'm trying to think right now. What do I rank the best music in this game? And it's honestly tough to say. Obviously, Jolly Rogers has great music. Witchy World has great music. Man, God, it's tough for this game. Banjo Kazooie is a little easier. I can at least say I love Mumble Mountain. I love Freezy. Freezy Peak's probably my favorite level music in that entire game. This one, it's tough. But also, I've always been more towards this game than Kazooie. And I love Kazooie, but Tooie's always been that one for me. Oh, am I gonna make it? Oh. Oh, barely at the last second. I like how that worked out. All right, well, I got the thing I needed. All right, now we can go back. Music's still good. It's the one thing I was always like, man, you gotta slowly walk back to Mumbo's skull. Oh. I was like a sad puppy dog getting right back in there. Like, yeah, let me get back to Banjo, get some speed again. Which I forgot to mention earlier, but I will always have Talon Trot. Like, whatever I can do to speed it up, I will go. Like, at this point, like I'm so immune to like the sound of this that it doesn't like annoy me. It's kind of like how in Mario games you hear Mario jump a million times and you never kind of get tired of it. Like, this is kind of like it just goes in one ear and goes out the other. It doesn't like bother me. Now I'm sure to others it probably does. There's probably people who never use Talon Trot unless like they really need to in this game. Thankfully I'm not like that. I'm gonna use it as much as humanly possible. Just because it speeds everything up so much. Alright, this is something that also I'm surprised this isn't in #1. Was the ability to do this. Just to be able to grab onto stuff like this. There's a lot of those. Here. I think I'll do one round of the tournament. Just because I want to hear that music and at least play one. If I want to show off at least a mini game from this, I'd want it to be at least that one. And this theme goes too. Mumbo amateur, Mumbo best. See, now you have Mumbo for that kind of stuff, and you have Humble Wumba for this, for the old transformations, like your best of both worlds. Stony. Transformations in this game are pretty good too. Like next level where you turn into Dynamite's good. I love the one for Witchy where we just turn straight into just a van. One right here. One that's also great is the one for Jolly Roger. He just turns like a submarine. Like, those are really good ones. The washing machine's probably one of the better ones too. That one kind of sucks control sometimes, but just it plays a washing machine. Can't go wrong with that. Man, Stony's slow. That's the only thing. And you were so slow playing a Stony. Really wish I could go fast. I got Tony the Tiger up here. And see, there's it is again. That the Grant Kirkhope transition, just from the stage music to this one, seamless. I still love that for this game. Any game that does that gets an A+ in my book. God, there's so much music to write too. Like that's has so much respect. Cause that's a lot of music to write. You have to write like the stage music for the whole world and get the right theme for it. But then for these sub areas and certain things you're doing, you have to make a piece of music that's the same, but gives off a whole different feeling. Like making music is hard, and that is not easy to do. I don't need training. I'm the best there ever was. I'm just actually learning how to play this. Alright, I won this easily. No contest. Yeah. Easy. This one's always been like pretty easy. The one later in the game is much harder. I remember that one was nuts too. Like, it's just how connected all the worlds are and how they connect them together is just insane. Because there's a part way later in the game for Hailfire Peaks, and it's like, oh well, there's a Stony tournament here, but it's like, wait, how do I get Stony from this level? Because the second you leave, your transformation ends. They don't even let you leave in this one. They're like, hey, you don't get the chance of leaving. You have to come back to turn back. It's just that, like, you have to hit a switch, another level, transform into Stony, then go over to that level to do it there. It's just that every level is connected like that. I just love it, this game. It's just like small stuff like that, and Actually, wait. Dang, no, why not just use that? I can just warp back to the Wonders. Yes, I'm not gonna do the entirety of the kickball section just because there's two more, and you kind of get the deal. But I just wanted to play as Stony for a bit and at least do that mini game. It's like there's a lot of mini games in this game. They really went kind of all out and adding just new stuff to it. And there's one in particular I wish I could do, but I'm not going to, is Canary Mary, which that's all I have to say. If you've played Banjo Tooie, you already know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't, Canary Mary is this one Jiggy in the game. It's a character you meet in the next level, and you pretty much have to just race her. And the first race is extremely easy. Like, there's no issue with it. But later in the game, you have a chance to race her again, and that race is relentless. It's notoriously like considered one of excuse me, one of the hardest Jiggies in the game, because you could tap as fast as possible, she will catch up. It's pretty rough. Now the strategy easily is, which I didn't know back then, is not to tap at 1,000 miles per hour. Just going at a general speed and then near the end speeding up is what gets you to win. But man, that is a hard Jiggy. And for years it was just, you mentioned that, it was like shudders, like, oh, not that one. I want to come over here because this is where the stop and swap stuff happens on the Xbox Live Arcade version. We can't do anything in here yet because, one, we don't have the Kazooie move yet. We don't have the drill break move. And the split up patch, which is one of the cooler things with this game, is that you could split up Banjo and Kazooie. So if you wanted to play as Banjo for certain things, you could do that. If you wanted to switch up to Kazooie. And that them individually had their own moveset as well. So you would get moves as only Banjo and you get moves only as Kazooie, along with getting moves just for both of them as well. So there's just a lot of stuff to it. Alright, so I think for now that I've played a little bit, let me save and quit, and let's switch over to the other save file just so we can play some more of this, because there's some more stuff I want to play in particular. Yeah, here's the intro I was talking about, where it's like, well, we've been away for a bit. We got to get back into it. Do I still remember how to play this? Got to retune that banjo. I could also just go over, okay, the replay section. Second, I can play all the mini games if I want to. And there's a lot. Oh, that one sucks. That one's not bad. That one's not bad. Hoop Hurry, Balloon Burst isn't bad. This one's, This one sucks a little bit just because you have to deal with a lot of garbage controls. Like, not everything's on the save. Alright. Alright, let's switch over to this one. Let's see which levels are unlocked in this one. I got 40. Got a lot of game time in this one. Yeah, at a certain point, at a certain point, I just started playing this on emulator, and just kind of dealt with just like the issue with the jiggies. I just got past that, but for a long time I would play it on there. Because at a certain point in time, it was just where I was at is a little hard to play on the original system. And I found it just a little more convenient that time. Alright. You know, let's hit Witchy World first. This for a long time was one of my favorite levels. Remember, I just loved the carnival aesthetic of it, just like a really grungy carnival. And it has really good music too. Every level theme in this section is great. Like the one for the sci-fi section. This one's really good. When you go over to the west section, it's really good. And love that, like, this level's really huge. Like, this level has a lot of stuff to it, but it's real compared to like the previous level. It's got like, it's at least easier to like get around, but it's packed with a lot of stuff. Uh-oh, and the fry guy. I think they call him Curly Joe. Slot machines over there. And this thing right here, a little grunty fortune teller. We want some red feathers. And you can get some stuff out of that one too. Let me go to Burger Dude. I remember he had a funny name. Let's see, who was it? Big Al, yeah, Big Al's Burgers. Synthetic cheese. He's always sneezing on the burgers. You want fries with that? Burgers is all I got. Salty Joe. That's not Curly Joe, Salty Joe. Yeah, this level's really good, and Mr. Patch, the boss, is really good for this one. Maybe I should play that one. I remember that boss. This game has a notoriety. This game is rated E, and I'm very shocked it even got an E rating, because this game has a lot of stuff in it that could easily push it to like a T rating, with like a lot of this suggestive stuff. Like Mr. Patch, where like the air hole for Mr. Patches is right in his crotch, and that's where all the air comes out. And then the Lord Wu Fok Fok battle at Jolly Roger Bay, when you shoot like the little balls on his body, usually in N64 games it gets usually like green because the ESRB, but for some reason it got past it. When you shoot the balls in this game, it's red for blood, which almost got Ocarina of Time like an E10 or a T rating, but this game doesn't have it. And there's so many other things too. Like if you just look at it, there's a video on YouTube just talking about all of Banjo Tooie's just innuendos, and even in Banjo Kazooie as well. And the list just goes on. Like Rare were able to get away with a lot of stuff. One, because they're rare and they can get away with a lot of stuff, but also because they would do the thing of they would put in British innuendos. So it'd be stuff where maybe like an American audience wouldn't be knowledgeable on it. So to them be like, oh, I don't see anything wrong with it. And then it would be like one if you're from that region, like, oh, how'd they get that in the game? It's a pretty funny video. I recommend giving it a watch. After all this stuff too, I'm kind of feeling like maybe I should play Nuts and Bolts. Like, it's not a bad game, but I don't know. I wonder to see how it is playing it this many years later. Like once all of the things died down from it. I want to see maybe if it holds up to some degree, but I'm not too sure. Once I get an Xbox One, I'll find out. But yeah, just the big thing of the eggs. You can just change these different eggs. Like, I love that. Even in Smash for Banjo, they included that too. 'Cause I saw the grenade egg. I saw the ice egg, which I knew from the beginning. Like, if they're gonna do Banjo, when I was like hypothesizing if Banjo got in, what they would do, I was like, those eggs, they would be dumb of them not to use Kazooie's eggs. And here we go. This is the best level in the game. Did Banjo Kazooie? No, Banjo Tooie managed to have a good water level. It's tough to say maybe favorite, but this has always been one of my favorite levels, and it has to do easily with the music alone. And just the trick this level plays on you. You get to the level first time, and it's like, okay, it's kind of small. Like what am I really doing here? And that's when you hit Atlantis and everything just changes. And they managed to also make it not stressful, just because you have no water bubbles when you swim underwater. Makes it so much better. If they didn't do that, this level would be a pain. I'd hate coming here, but because it's got such great music and like the gameplay is really calming, in that it really works. And I'm walking in here for obvious reasons. One, because this is where that video was, where that dude made that April 1st one, where he did all the crazy stuff like shooting the egg and like the table and talking to this guy. I have to talk to this character because people nowadays, people be blasting this character. Like just his voice. And here's one of the innuendos. I'll just get this one out the way right now, which I know it's C-Mans, but I don't know. Like, knowing Rare, that had to be some innuendo. Like don't say it's me. How to fix this? I'll have to do that. And look who it is. If you play Banjo Kazooie, you know who this guy is. And there goes a little kind of thing of referencing Stop and Swap. That's where the egg was at, and the egg was in this location right here in Banjo Kazooie. You'd have to go into that little cave and you'd do some platforming, and the egg was there. But yeah, in that video, it's like, oh, the ice key opens up this chest, and you open inside the chest. And I feel so stupid. Alright, well, I have to go hear this now. We gotta head down. But first, actually, real quick, just because I didn't show it off. This is what I was mentioning with the split up, where you can now kind of move. He plays Banjo. He has his own moves. He has his own different things. And then Kazooie as well. You can switch. Like I said, I'm not. This fall, the game's not beat, so I don't have all the moves, because like Kazooie has this like flight moves you get later on that's really good. Oh yeah, one of the greatest character names in this, Chris P. Bacon. That's what I also would love just about the Banjo Tooie and Kazooie series, that the character names are always something very just like it's some kind of pun or something just dumb to it. Just that they called the pig Chris, the letter just P, and then bacon is. They right at home. All right, but here we go. This level, this is where I was like, okay, this level is good. Just because like I said, when I first got into this level, I was like, oh, Jolly Rogers doesn't look that big, and then you get to this huge, sprawling, open, just water level. With you don't have to like worry about breathing. You can swim as free as you want, and it, like I mentioned, it has this track playing throughout. This, in my opinion, and it's a pretty popular one, but this is probably the best track in the entire Banjo Kazooie series, easily. Hands down in this game, Atlantis is my favorite track. And I don't know, this track just, it's one that I will even just put on. Even if I'm not playing this game, I will put this song on. It's just very relaxing. And I will go as far to say, and this is probably like blasphemy to some, but you know, I love Dire Dire Docks. That is like a quintessential water level music, but I will put this over it. And both tracks are great. Both are like, in terms of water level themes of gaming, are up there, some of the best. But this one is there. And it's one even Grant Kirkhope agrees. Like, I remember a while ago on Twitter, someone asked him, I think a few years ago, what his favorite piece from he'd ever written was, and it was this. And he's like, you know what? I'd agree. It's such just a really just well put together piece of music. Like, it's one of those things, if you play it just without even showing somebody what the game is, like, oh, I can just easily tell it has an aquatic theme to it. And it's this section right here that gets me every time. This is my that sudden change to like the darker just arrangement. Oh my God, so good. And the little trills come back. It's still one of my favorite pieces of music. It really fits this level so well, and always made this level really fun to play. Which, you know, this level actually is kind of it's pretty big, so it gets confusing. So it's good having music that is really good. So you never like oh, I gotta stick to this level. Right, what else? Because I just wanted to come here to talk about the music. That's really all I wanted to talk about. What else do I really want to show from here? There's probably a lot more I could have mentioned. I think one more thing I'll mention before I leave is the rare acquisition. So I remember a sad thing that did happen was it was after Conker's Bad Fur Day came out, and I may have mentioned it in my Banjo Kazooie one, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna mention it again because I feel like closing this Banjo Kazooie and Tooie thing out, and it probably needs to be said. So after Conker's Bad Fur Day came out, Rare got bought up by Microsoft. Microsoft decided to buy Rare and make them one of their studios to make games. And it's a decision that still, I feel, shouldn't have happened. I feel Rare was in a really good place working with Nintendo at that point in time, and the move from Rare to go to Microsoft really killed a lot of things. And it killed a lot of projects, especially because Perfect Dark 2, which is going to be an actual true sequel to Perfect Dark, that got canceled. Banjo 3, which got referenced at the end of this game, and like 13 seconds of footage exists out there from a Space World 2000, and like little bits of concept art that have come out here and there, but yeah, a lot of stuff got canceled, and once that push went to Microsoft, I feel like Rare's quality kind of dropped. And that's not, and I'm not saying that all the games they made after like the Microsoft purchase were bad, because you know what, Grab by the Ghoulies is actually a really good game that a lot of people kind of dismiss because it's that Microsoft era Rare, but that game was good. That game had a really good soundtrack. I thought it was fun. It was a cool little, like just little fun game. And Cameo wasn't too bad, and Viva Pinata, I hear people give some crap to sometimes. That's a fun game. That was a game I didn't think I would enjoy as much as I did. So I was actually really down for Viva Pinata. And then of course you have Nuts and Bolts, which I already got 2 into my last video. That they advertised, like the trailer came out showing there would be platforming and jiggies and all that stuff, and then the game comes out and it's entirely different. Which that was always unfortunate with that whole situation. And then really at that point, Rare kind of went away. A lot of the people who were working on these games left onto their own little studios, and we started seeing kind of stuff with like Connect, Rare, and we were just making Connect games. And like the last Rare game that's come out that actually maybe closely resembles Rare is Sea of Thieves, but even then at that point, I feel like even some of that stuff is still kind of gone from there. I just feel like some of that original charm that made these games so special is there. And I'm sure the teams working at Rare now are good, but I just feel like it's a lot of Microsoft like stuff at the helm for there, like what they're deciding them to make and all this. So I really don't know. In my ideal future, I would have loved Rare to stay with Nintendo and see what they would have done. Like to see what Rare would have done on the GameCube would have been really great. I would have been all for it. Yeah, I think I'm getting to that point. I've talked about a lot of stuff, and I'm sure there's thousands of different things, and it would also really require me to play the entire game and go about it, because there's a lot of just anecdotes of me playing this game back then I could mention and all this, but of course I'd be here for 5 hours playing this one, talking about it. But yeah, I'll end it off here for now. But yeah, still keeping my seg, this is still a great game. And I know I didn't show as much, and there's a lot more levels I could have shown. But Banjo Tooie is a really special game. Same for Banjo Kazooie. It's always been a game that I've come back to years and years after the fact, and I always enjoy it. If you've never played Banjo Kazooie and Tooie, I say this every GWC plays, but this one I truly do recommend. I think if you just want a fun platformer with a lot of charm and great music, this is really right up your alley. And this game's got so much to it that you're always doing something different in it. Even if you're always collecting jiggies, they're always throwing something new at you, or a new level, or a new section there. So you always have something new you're tackling at it, which always adds more to the game. It's always been a favorite N64 game of mine and a character. I love this franchise. I will always talk about it. And, it's just great. I mentioned at the beginning, Banjo Kazooie's and Smash. It's great to see that character back, and it was really also just great to see a lot of the fans reacting to it as well. Just seeing people who are just as thrilled about this character as I am. Just seeing them get really excited about it was really cool. And yeah, Banjo Kazooie, there's really not much to say. It's one of Rare's landmark titles. It's one of my favorite games. It's Banjo Tooie especially. I love this game. It's honestly really great. But now I'm really just dragging time. So thank you very, very much for watching this GWC Plays. This one was definitely needed. And hopefully I got everything in. So that's going to be it for me here. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time on GWC Plays. Banjo's back.